evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of What's Happening. I'm George Binns, here with Gail Burke, Elliot Margolis, and Stuart Gardner. And the theme of tonight's show is a little different. We're recording this thing just after Thanksgiving and Hanukkah, but before Christmas and New Year's. So I would like to start off with a little appreciation for the uniqueness and the special characteristics of the United States in that there was a major change of heart after World War II. So instead of going and punishing the losers in the war, we actually helped them out greatly. And there was two major events, I guess, that people think of. One was the GI Bill, and the other is the Marshall Plan. And the GI Bill was a defensive move on the part of the Congress because after every war, the veterans came back and rioted because they didn't get paid their bonus or their rewards that they were supposed to get. And the second part of it is most of the time the countries that won the war would go and strip the countries naked, taking everything that wasn't nailed down. And we did the opposite with the Marshall Plan. And the net result was, there was a lot of defensive thinking also because Russia, well, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, Soviet Union, was pushing westward into Europe, and we were quite concerned that communist parties would take over lots of places, so we were economically fighting them back. So that worked out very nicely, but the net of result is we've had over 75 years, almost 4 generations without a major war. And a lot of that is to do with the fact that we kept our military pretty large, and especially the Navy that made global trade possible because the sea lanes are always open. So I think this is something that we ought to be thankful for, that we've had, a couple of skirmishes, but nothing like World War I, World War II, the Franco-Prussian War, any of those other ones. So that leads me to another point that where I think we should be going with this country, and this is part of what we want to talk about tonight. If I had a wish list and I took over the world, one of the things I would like to do with the United States is improve the infrastructure. One of the downsides of the Marshall Plan is the rest of the world got modernized, we didn't. And we're getting to be very far behind. And I'm starting to wonder whether we need something like a Manhattan Project to develop autonomous electronic vehicles so that you get most of the cars off the road and the ones that are there have some space to move in. So, Stuart, if you were taking over the world, what's your #1 hit?
Love the history lesson, by the way.
Yeah.
I want to add that the Marshall Plan did basically build your military-industrial complex in the United States, which employs hundreds of thousands of people. So we did get advantage of it. But I do agree that we need a Marshall Plan in the United States. And you know, it's funny. My Christmas list, or Hanukkah list, of what I wanted on top is traffic. Traffic sucks. We got to do something about it. I was thinking about this. This is John Kennedy, right? He challenged the nation to do something for your country, not for yourself, and then he also challenged the nation to find a way to get to the moon. I would like our president or somebody to challenge the nation to figure out a way to fix traffic, because I don't care if it's 11 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 in the morning, I don't care if you're on the highways, I don't care if you're on the local roadways. You can't get anywhere. You just can't get anywhere, and this just stinks. Sorry for being no negative about it, but I can't stand it.
I mean, you happen to be right for a change, too. But you're right. The big dig in Boston, biggest waste of money I've ever seen. It's still hard to get into Boston. This traffic is still unbelievable getting into Boston. Trust me, I know. I travel all the time. And they didn't add one single parking space in Boston. Now, what they should have done was taken that $15 billion that they spent on the stupid big dig and worked on public transportation to get into Boston. I don't know why people want to work in Boston. I really have no idea.
You make more money working in Boston than you do in
But
burbs.
you can't get there.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you
with
can't get out of
I
there.
think
have
it's
to
any
take
cities
public
like that has all this
transportation.
Well,
problem.
I think part of the situation comes down to one of the bigger the city, the more interaction you get between the different people. Lots more things happen in a big city because there's so many possible connections that you can make. But the point you're making is that you can't afford to live there. There's very few places that you can afford to live with the kinds of salaries that the average person would earn in Boston. So they all have to move out to the suburbs to find something they can afford. And there ain't no way to get between the two.
Well, you have public transportation, but
it's not good.
not maintained.
No.
It isn't good at
It-
all.
it's
And
not
in the
good.
cold weather, the snow and everything, we see what happens with the T and with the commuter rail. So I think that would be something, I don't know how you're going to do it because it's all run by the T, but you have to have somebody that cares enough about really improving it, get rid of some of the dead wood, instead of allowing the employees outrageous salaries, wonderful pension plans, cut back on some of that and put it into maintaining and getting newer and better cars, trains, whatever.
Well, one of the eye-openers for me is every so often I surf through the channels and get this show that Rick Steves runs on visiting Europe. And he was in Paris, one of these episodes, and he went down to the subway. And I can remember I was in Paris maybe 40 years ago, and the subway was going through a major upgrade at the time, and their big innovation was they were going to high-pressure rubber tires on the subway cars to get rid of the noise and to make them more repairable, better service. I look at the same subway stations that I've been in, and they got these glass walls up there, and the train pulls in, then the doors open and you can get on it, and the places are gorgeous. They're really well maintained. So it isn't a situation that, like China, where they're building everything brand new from nothing, but they had an old system that they continually upgrade. And one of the times when I was living in Chicago, they had an episode about the difference in the public transportation in Chicago. And they made a comment that back in the days of the horse-drawn trolleys, they were doing 12 miles an hour around town. That was their average speed. Now they got the diesel buses. They're doing 11 miles an hour average speed. You know, they just don't have the desire to make it happen.
So let me just add one thing. So one of the problems, obviously, is the older cities, Boston, Chicago. They're small roads in between. They're built for horses, not for cars. And what I do is I want better efficiency in the train and all this kind of stuff. But we need more than that. We need to challenge our thinkers in our society and go, what can we do? And I have a couple of quick thoughts that we could do it. One, honest to goodness, there's an app out there called Waze. You guys might have used it. It's a way to get around the city. We could, the
just
mayor
reminded me to shut my phone
Shut
off.
your phone off. The mayor of Boston could take the 10 biggest companies or the 20 biggest companies in Boston and say, I want all your employees to tailor when they come in. They can come in at between 6 or 7 or 8 and not have everyone on the road at the same time. Let's use our intelligence, let's use our technology to not get every company, every guy on the road at the same time. Some come at 6 in the morning, some come at 7 in the morning, some come at 8. We could do zipper lanes, like better zipper lanes. They do that in the South Shore, not up here, where in the morning you see all this traffic on the 4 lanes coming in and no traffic on the 4 lanes going out. That's 4 empty lanes we could use now, maybe 2 of them. We've got to find a way to use technology better to get people in and out of the city.
Well, to mention that point is when I was working at GE, Gerhard Newman was the vice president of the area, and somebody complained to him that the traffic was hard to get in on time, and they were late for an 8 o'clock meeting. So he changed the schedule. Everybody has to be there by 7:30. No traffic on the road. You can make a meeting then. So that's happened. It's been done.
It's just going to be done on a bigger basis. Yeah.
Again, thinking back to Chicago, on the Northeast Expressway coming out of the city, on Lakeshore Drive, Lakeshore Drive coming out of the city, they've got these rubber pylons that come up out of the road at 4 o'clock, and all of a sudden, the lanes just shifted.
There's extra lanes.
And they moved the center island, if you will, over 2 lanes.
That's what I want.
And it can be done. The other innovation that Chicago had was one of the times I was driving to work, I'll never do that again. I'm parked in traffic on the Congress Street Expressway, and down the middle of the island between the incoming and outgoing lanes, there's 2 lanes of track. And there goes the subway, zipping right through. Oh, I should be on that subway. So
Yeah.
there are ways to do it, and you look at the way they build the highways around here, nothing happened.
The problem that I see is the people ourselves, like particularly the millennials, right? They want their car. They want their convenience. And we have to change people's thought processes to think about what's best for everybody and not what's best for me personally.
You sound like a communist. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but we have
have a
to make
fever?
it. We have to make it plausible for them to want to take public transportation. And the public transportation, the way it is
But that's
now,
No.
it's,
right,
it
but
has
that's
to-
my point from
it has to
from
be
before, like
upgraded.
the big dig, total waste
No,
of money.
that was
Work on
terrible.
making public transportation better, more efficient, and reasonably priced.
when it gets
Because
right-
now what you do is, you know, as you said earlier, they give salaries, they give them. You can work for the MBTA for 20 years, retire, collect a pension, get another job. And it's costing us more and more money to do that. And all they do, they raise the fees. They don't fix the
No,
problem.
they don't.
No, it really comes down to is that when Henry Ford came up with the Model T, everybody could afford a car. And once you've got a car, it's easy to get out to the suburbs, to get farther and farther away into areas where the land is reasonably priced. So we've already essentially destroyed the possibility of having a European kind of system where everybody can run on public transportation. And that's why I'm thinking more and more about these autonomous electric cars.
Sure.
One of the comments on an article I was reading said, your car is on the road, except for you, something between 1 and maybe 10% of its life. The rest of the time it's parked someplace.
Yeah.
So you don't really need a car. You just need transportation. Uber and Lyft are starting to get into the business of, hey, I want to go from here to there and do it on time. Once they get to autonomous cars, you have essentially an electronic taxi.
Yeah.
That you dial it up and come and get me and take me there.
I hate to say this, but what you're going to do? I mean, you're going to take 300,000 truckers off the road too. You're going to lose.
yeah.
You're going to lose, but you're going to lose a ton of jobs. You know, these people all need jobs. You think it's
They
tough
create
now?
different
Well,
jobs.
this is the basic
that's-
problem. Every time you change something, jobs disappear. We ain't making buggy whips anymore.
Yeah.
Horses and carriages are gone.
I could use
Yeah.
a buggy whip. Just so you know. Wait, do you know I can get a good one?
Yeah. But, and this is the thing that the other half of this game of, okay, we're going to improve transportation. I think NVIDIA just got a contract with Sweden to come up with an autonomous truck that they're going to run around in Sweden. Or you can go look at the port in Amsterdam. And they've got these autonomous trucks
Take
that look just like a trailer truck, except there's no cab on them.
Yeah.
They're running all over the place, directed by somebody sitting up in the balcony there, ding, 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 playing with them. And yeah, jobs were
I think it's-
eliminated, but that's the way the thing.
So we're all concurrence
That's
here, though.
progress.
Yeah, I was in Vegas last week. Vegas has a monorail system that goes behind the hotels but stops at a bunch of different hotels. Beautiful system. It's quiet, it's clean, and it's not in the way of traffic whatsoever.
Yeah, they talked about that, putting something like
Yeah,
that
that
in
was-
Boston.
You know,
I was involved
but it would
in 20,
make,
30
it would
years.
make so much
How would you
sense.
start?
I don't even know. You'd have to. I don't know.
It makes a lot of sense.
Traffic is
I mean, I
a disaster.
remember years ago when over in Everett, they used to have the T. The T would go, there was a station in Everett. And, I mean, it was there for a long, long time. And it was always dirty. And it was always kind of, you know, you're in the middle of Everett. And now I think that's where they're going to, in that area, is where they're going to put the casinos.
It's
they
there.
Can, is
It's
it
there
there
now.
already?
It's
Okay, I haven't been over there for a
And
while.
boy, is that going to be
I don't know
a
how
mess.
that's going to
Yeah.
work.
They were supposed to spend like $30 or $40 million on some traffic removing. I don't know how to.
But I
I,
mean,
I drive that
Everett
area
is
a lot.
I used to
Trust
work
me,
there.
that's going to be a mess.
And, you know, I mean, I used to have to go around this rotary every single day,
I know the
twice
rotary
a
you're
day.
talking about.
Yeah, and it was horrible because you had cars coming in from Medford, you had cars coming from Revere, and then you had cars coming in from Malden and Melrose, and it was like, oh my God. So you'd have to get in that rotary.
Let's move to another
I got
topic.
another topic.
I don't know what they're going to do.
I got another traffic. So we all agree traffic sucks, and we got to fix it. You want to save
I
money.
want to get back to something that George said.
Yeah.
This is my
Model T
gripe.
Ford.
No, when he was talking about the country and how after the war we we did not go into Germany and Japan and tear it apart. We went in and we gave them money and we gave them help and we helped them build it up.
Sure.
I want somehow for the younger people to get more information, to know what we did, and to not think that we are to blame for all the problems of the world.
How dare you want to teach history?
I know. I know.
How dare you?
I know.
Why don't
but,
you,
But the younger people don't have a clue.
Why
They
don't you
don't.
have a year of mandatory service, and then they can take the first 3 months of the mandatory service.
Again, we agree.
They can study the
That
history. They
might
can be.
be
It could even be.
a
It could even be
good
sort of a.
idea.
It could be like a propaganda. They work for the United States. And they can know it's
Yes.
sort of like U.S. propaganda. But I believe it. I'm
But you
It's
fine
know,
with
not
that.
one of the things
propaganda,
that
it's what
people don't,
happened.
kids don't appreciate what they have in this
No, they
country.
don't.
And if we, after high school, first of all, we have a huge dropout rate in college. Huge.
Yeah.
A big
Because
alcoholism
people-
problem.
They're not
Right.
prepared for college.
Right. So what you do, just like they do in Israel,
1 year.
1 to 2 years of service to the country. Doesn't have to be military. It
They're not
could
going to be in
military.
combat. They're not going to be in
No,
combat.
Right.
They're just going to be.
it could be Vista, could be Peace Corps.
Could work for a local
could be
city.
a
They can
lo-
clean the streets.
Guess what?
Clean the
train
You're gonna-
stations
You're
that you
going
go
to
to.
learn to appreciate
What you
what
have.
you've got.
Yeah.
Because the kids
Well, so who's
nowadays
against
don't.
this? Why can't it happen? why didn't Barack Obama want it? Why didn't Donald Trump want it? Why doesn't why don't the like if it's an obvious thing that we all want, who
Well,
doesn't
Kennedy
want
started it and it died after him.
it? Because why? It costs
Oh, the
money
Peace
because
Corps.
they don't want to. Because people don't want to put their kids in
But
service.
the
or
Peace Corps was going to foreign countries.
yeah, I don't want to go to foreign countries
No.
just yet. They could be
Vista,
once we
I
fix
think
this place, we
Vista
can start.
was the
They wanna make America
organization
great
that
I
was-
want to
again.
make America pretty
there
good again.
you go.
That'll
Make America great
pretty good
again.
All right, so here's my next
Thank
complaint.
you,
I got my
Mr.
next
President.
complaint. Robocalls. Can we do something about robocalls? They drive me insane, and I've got the answer. Just hire a team, have the government hire a team to answer them, and buy the fakakta thing that they tried to sell, and then chase them down and crunch them with a crime. I don't care if they put them in jail. How do we stop? You got my phone rings constantly from people I don't know, and then they've
Pick
got
up your phone and just go
I don't.
and hang up. After a while, they stop.
They call me constantly. Can't we do something about that? You guys are
I
smart.
just told
I
you what to
agree.
do.
I mean, now there is the do not call.
I don't want
list,
the government
but the
getting
do not
involved in
call list
fixing it.
doesn't work.
They sell the do not call list to all the marketers. You put your name, like, oh, we got phone numbers.
You know, it's ridiculous. But now they have computers talking to you.
Oh, yeah.
But then when people talk to you, they ask you a question, can you hear me okay? They want you to say yes. It's recorded.
Yeah.
Okay? So then what
They
they can do is they could sell you something.
Use that
and
yes as a recording.
Use that yes as the recording. So you never want to say yes. I always say, I hear you fine. And then they hang up. They actually
Sometimes
hang
I'll
up.
say, could I call you back? I'm busy right at the moment. Click.
Oh, I've done that. One time I got a phone call around supper time. I said, look, I'm having supper right now. What time do you have supper? And I'll give you a call.
Can't we just get rid of them? Do I have to talk to them and make up some sort of like thing? Can't we just figure out a way to shut
Pick
them
up
off?
the phone
Don't we have
and
the
dial the
technology?
numbers.
the
It
irritating
beats in
thing
their
is-
ears.
With my cell phone, I can buy a service from Verizon to block all these calls. They know which ones are robocalls.
Right.
And for a price, they're willing to block them
You
for
got to
me.
pay for it.
Yeah. So why isn't it, again, I hate to say a government regulation that says, hey, guys, knock it off. Now, in some cases, there is valid reasons for robocalls.
Sure.
The city uses them
For
quite
emergency
often,
purposes and stuff
emergency
like that, I gotcha.
purposes and stuff
During
like that.
elections?
During elections.
Yeah.
I just want to get. I can't take them sometimes. I got lots of pet peeves, so you guys can pick another one. I've got.
Well, one of the pet peeves I have, as I was talking about earlier, I do a lot of driving. And you're going to take a turn, and somebody is walking in the, crosswalk. Fine, you got to cross the street. But how about having a little respect for a 5,000-pound vehicle and walk across the street instead of talking on the phone, dilly-dallying around.
Sauntering.
Sauntering. And taking your sweet time about it. It just, what I've been doing lately is just putting my hand on the phone, on the horn and keeping it down. And then you should see the dirty looks I get. Yeah. All I want you to do is walk.
I don't like it when they cross against the light. You're at least sometimes they have the right of way when you're taking the right turn. They cross against the light. It's a green light. Traffic is moving. All you're doing is stopping 15 people to saunter across the street. Drives me bananas. And then if you hit them or you come close to them, they give you a dirty look. It's like you're in the middle of the road.
Yeah. Have a little respect for something.
I have a pet peeve about people who are not handicapped parking in handicapped
That's
parking
offensive.
spots.
I agree 100%.
I think
you don't
that's
need it,
awful.
don't use it.
I have actually spoken to people when I see them doing it.
There was a fight a couple weeks ago
And
that
they
someone
get
got
mad at
shot.
me.
Didn't you guys read about it?
No.
I'm trying to think where it was. I don't forget what it was. Some guy did the same thing. He went up and complained to some guy with a handicap, and someone shot somebody.
Well, I know what I did. What I did once when I used to drive my mother-in-law to, the doctor or something, and I had a handicap placard for her.
Yes.
And she couldn't walk all that well. So if somebody was in a handicapped spot without a placard, I'd block them in.
Very
But
nice.
you know what happens
There's
in
a-
this state? You can get a handicap placard, and you can keep it for several years, even if you don't need it anymore.
you don't need it, don't
I
use it.
knew a woman who did. She had a problem with her leg, so she got one. And 5 years down the road, she still had it. And I said, why are you doing that? She said, because I want to keep it, and I'm going to keep it.
Yeah.
There's some interesting
Turn it.
YouTubes and memes of, like you said, somebody parked in the wrong space. They line up all the shopping carts around them,
Oh, I'm sorry. I see that.
or they turn the car sideways. It's just
How about in
unbelievable.
Boston?
You
Trying
and
to
the-
find a parking spot
Oh,
in
yeah.
Boston,
And
and they
the
put out
excuse.
lawn chairs.
Yeah.
That's a big problem in a lot
I
of the
know.
cities.
When you shovel the space out, you want to
I
keep
agree
it.
with that. I
That's
think if
right,
you
yeah.
shovel the space, if it's
It should be
18 inches of
yours.
snow and you shovel the space,
Yeah.
you should get it for 48 hours or something like that. I'm like, why should I give it to some schmuck after I shoveled it for
Yeah.
6 hours, broke my back? I agree with that one. That's a tough one.
Yeah,
and they
that
put the
is.
old chair in front of it or something
Yeah.
like that.
But the excuse people use, well, I'm only going in for a minute.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, that minute could be when a handicapped person really needs
Well,
it.
that's it.
And you don't appreciate what a handicapped person needs until you've been with one. And that's a problem.
Oh, yeah.
People don't appreciate that handicapped there's a reason for it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'll add one more thing. How about the kids, and I don't like to complain about young people, that wear like all black in the middle of the night and trying to walk on the road. And they don't realize, dude, I can't see you.
right.
I have good eyes and I can't see you.
Yeah.
I was over by Endicott College the other day and like 3 kids in the middle of the road. It was like 9:30 at night. It was like pitch black.
It's the same thing at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Drives me
People
nuts.
are out jogging. Once in a while, there's a couple that I've seen between my house and the Y. The only time I notice is they've got a leash on the dog that sort of glows in the dark.
It's a little piece of clothes.
You know, the black dog, and they're, like you say, the ninjas with the black outfits on.
Yeah.
That's
And
scary.
the other one, part of this discussion earlier about people crossing the street, the law says the pedestrian has the right of way. And unfortunately, too many people say, well, I got the right of way.
Yeah,
Ding, ding, ding,
I got
ding.
everything. Why can't cops have the stop sign? They got it in Florida, stop and slow, the cops to do with the
Yeah.
traffic thing. They just sit there on the phone. I'm like, dude, there's like all these cars backed up, and he's like, just sit on the phone talking to his girlfriend or something.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got
Anyway.
lots of complaints.
Well,
about
what's
society.
your picture? What would you solve?
What would you say?
What
Yeah.
I solve? Well, it's the Christmas season. I love Christmas. Always have. I am so happy that now people are not afraid to say Merry Christmas. There are still those pockets in different places where you cannot have the nativity scene and all that. I think that's horrible.
You can say Merry Christmas anytime you want.
Thank you. But the
And I agree
nativity
with you
scenes,
100%.
and you're not even a Christian, but you have
It's
never
the
been
season.
bothered by
It's the
Christmas.
season.
Yeah,
It's-
or the Christmas
We
carols
wouldn't
and
be-
the
Christmas. Jesus was a
parties.
Jew.
But you know, the
His
bottom
mother was
line
Jewish,
is
his
mother
the
was
season.
Jewish.
Therefore, he's
Without
Jewish.
Christmas,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have the season.
That's right.
And
You wouldn't
what's
get the day
harm-
off.
What is the harm of respecting
It isn't.
the season?
There isn't.
Well,
There isn't any
the one that got
harm
me
at all.
recently is the local newspaper had a picture of the mayor sitting in the glow of a menorah he just lit.
I
And
was
they
there.
mentioned that he lit the menorah, which I think is a good thing to do. But a couple of weeks earlier, they had a picture of him lighting the holiday tree. What
There it is again. That's what I love about this president. It's a Christmas tree. You bring in
Even
a huge
Boston had
Christmas
lit the
tree.
Christmas tree.
Yes, this
So what,
year, a
Beverly
couple
had a
years
holiday
ago,
tree?
they
We didn't have a
didn't.
Christmas
Yeah.
tree?
No, we had a holiday tree.
A holiday tree?
I mean,
If
what
you're
is it?
offended by it, don't go look at it.
That's
Don't
right.
go see it.
That's right.
And just leave. You know, that's part of the problem today is that people are not tolerant of others. And
That's right.
with all due respect, the
tolerant.
party of tolerance is the most intolerant party I have ever seen. Okay?
It's
because
true.
liberals
It's true.
will not respect or care about what you think
Yeah.
if you don't think the way
If you
they
don't
think.
agree with them, that's wrong.
All right. Uh-oh. See, we're
Well-
degrading. We're degenerating to political talk. It's a liberal's fault.
Back to Christmas. Back to Christmas.
I'll blame it on the politically correct.
Like, you could do that. And here's the thing: politically correct is not a political party. It's not a party.
No.
No, it
Liberals
isn't.
and
No, it isn't.
conservatives can be.
But how
called
did it
political correct.
remember-
start?
Who knows?
What is that song that they want to stop doing now because it's
Oh, the White Christmas.
No,
I
not
was-
White Christmas.
Yeah, Bing Crosby's White
Rudolph.
Christmas.
No,
They,
no,
they,
no.
they are now,
Rudolph's a racist. don't
Rudolph's
know.
a racist, but his father, they're coming down on
Rudolph's
his
father?
father was a child abuser because he made Rudolph put a black thing over his nose. So
yeah,
when
people
he-
can't
Yes.
take this stuff so
come
seriously.
on.
It's fun.
It's a Christmas carol.
Have
it's
fun.
It
Well,
is
we've definitely.
fun.
I agree. We've definitely lost our sense of humor in this country. No one. You can't
Well,
say anything without.
that's what I want. I want us to get that sense of humor back. Not to take things so seriously,
Yeah.
to be able to laugh. when
yeah.
the president says something, some of the time he's joking. Take it as a joke.
Sometimes it's a joke.
It
sometimes it's not.
is, it is. And,
The song you were thinking of is "Baby It's Cold Outside."
That's it.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, baby, it's
Yeah.
cold
Why
out.
is that one? Why is that one?
I
banned?
don't know. I don't know
The
what the problem
interpretation
is.
that the politically correct are using is that he's trying to seduce her.
Oh.
And if you
It's
listen,
cold
to
outside.
if you listen to the words, she's the one that comes up with the reason why she should stay.
Okay, we're down to 1 minute. Any final thoughts before we say goodbye?
Merry Christmas to everybody.
And happy Hanukkah as well.
Happy holidays. How's that one for a politically correct? Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah,
Happy New
Good
Year.
Happy
Kwanzaa.
New Year.
Happy New Year.
And
And
everything in between.
We are an
we
open
hope-
system here.
We hope you all have a wonderful Christmas, Hanukkah, and with your families, and we hope Santa Claus is good to everyone. Good night, and we'll see you soon.